Good morning. Welcome to Cámara Peruana de Comercio Exterior. Welcome to our daily lectures. Today, and this is one of our English lectures. Remember that they are on Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. Mondays and Wednesdays and Saturdays from 9 to 10 in the morning. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope everyone spent time with their families. I hope everyone was enjoyed their Saturday and Sunday. But remember to always continue to take the necessary precautions to avoid getting sick or getting your loved ones ill. Okay. So again, I hope you have a great weekend and I hope you have a great beginning of the week. We're going to continue with our topic of, remember, our English for specific purposes. And eventually, every now and then, we're going to talk about English for general English, which will be grammar, vocabulary. But we're always going to give you I'm always going to give you some templates of words and expressions you can use during your working days or your regular office responsibilities. Okay. So the last couple of presentations or lectures were about discussions and presentations. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what social English or conversational English is, and also cultural awareness. Okay, and we're going to define these topics and also give you some expressions that you can use whenever you encounter or you are in one of these situations. Okay. Very good. Again, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Carlos Martinez Flores. I am an English instructor and also a speaking coach. I am a former team leader at Pacific University, and currently I work at Mater Purísima School in Miraflores. I am the EFL instructor for the higher levels in the school. Also remember that I can follow your questions and your comments via Zoom and also via the CAMEX Facebook page, okay? So if you have any questions, remember that just ask them through the chat and I will answer them as soon as I receive them. Remember that sometimes there's a little bit of delay between the between the time that I get the question and I answer them. Okay, so I apologize for that inconvenience if it happens, but I will answer them as quickly as possible. Okay, so let's begin. So like I said, today we're going to talk about social English, okay? And when we talk about social English, like I said, it's more about it. Some people also call it conversational English or English that you use in a normal day-to-day basis. But also social English has to do not only with colloquial English or English that you talk with friends, but also during working experiences, okay? Because as I told you before, social English has to do with interacting with other people. I don't agree with the terminology of specifically colloquial English or only conversational English, because even though it does have to do with those two things, it could be formal or informal. So I think social English is the one that englobes them the most. Okay, if I say conversational or if I say colloquial, it's too limited. Okay, so I think social English because it englobes both aspects. Okay, so today we're going to talk about some expressions of greeting people, saying hello, showing interest in topics, what expressions to use in case problems may occur or appear, and finally when you leave or you finish a conversation. Okay. But first of all, we need to define what is cultural awareness. And these two words, if you translate it using a dictionary, Google Translator, or just by knowledge of each word, you can figure out what it means. I mean, to be aware of something is to know, to recognize, and cultural means, identities of specific characteristics or activities that identify a culture. right? But let's try to define. I'm going to give you some definitions of what cultural awareness is that maybe will clarify why it is important to take into account when we talk about conversation. Okay. First thing, it is important to understand the cultural differences and being aware of different cultural values, beliefs, and perceptions. Considered to be an important business skill, it has been shown to enhance communication in the workplace. Why? We've been talking about the last couple of classes about presentations and how to prepare. Um, when we talk about prepare, and we said that when we prepare, we need to know who we're talking to. Okay, so it's very important to know not only what the people are listening, what they like or interested in, but also their culture. Um, some cultures are very strict on the expressions that they use. For example, the Asian cultures, it's they respect a lot the hierarchy, the position of the people. Some of the languages in the Asian culture, Korean, Japanese, and Chinese, they have. I mean, some words are related to the level of your importance. The same word can be said in different ways depending on who you're talking to. We do have this in Spanish and in English too, but we use them more with titles and maybe with changing some of the vocabulary. But we don't have a totally different word for for just due to respect. But so we need to know. We need to know what words they consider offensive, what words they consider relevant, what words I mean, many things to be taken into account. That is and that is based on culture. Okay, so it is being aware of the different cultural values, beliefs, and perceptions. Okay, perceptions, values, and beliefs. Another definition for cultural awareness could be the knowledge of, understanding of, and experience with one's own culture as well as others' culture that inform one's ability to navigate new experiences. This is very important because sometimes we forget, for the sake of being open to other cultures, we forget our own. We cannot do that. We cannot do that. We need to give our own culture the importance that it needs, and also when we present, we need to represent this culture. Okay, because for example, if I am okay, I'm in Peru and somebody from India comes, and I'm going to expect his behavior or the way he speaks based on the Indian culture. But if he starts doing, so everything he does for me is going to be representative of the Indian culture. The expressions that he uses, the words that he uses, the comments that he uses for me are going to be representative of the Indian culture. So if for some reason this person forgets to represent his culture and does something that is not typical of the Indian culture, I'm going to misinterpret the message. Okay, I'm going to believe that all Indian people talk or express themselves like this. So when I am speaking, I am a representative of my culture. Okay, I need to take into account the other people's beliefs and understandings, but I also need to implement my own. Okay, so it's very important. Next, and developing the sensitivity and understanding of another ethnic group. This usually involves internal changes in terms of attitudes and values. Awareness and sensitivity also refer to the qualities of openness, to be open, and flexibility that people develop in relationship to others. Cultural awareness must be supplemented with cultural knowledge. Knowledge is different than awareness, okay? To be aware is that I know or I accept that something exists, and knowledge is just information, okay? It's just all the information that I have. So I need to know both. Okay, this is what I know, and this is what I see or understand. I need to be, because remember that. Well, I want you to Google it later. Knowledge is not the same as understanding. Totally different things. Okay, but yet you need to know the value of identity. Okay, so whenever we speak, whenever we talk to somebody, we need to know who we're talking to and what we're saying represents to them. In Spanish, the same word, for example, it's funny sometimes I see how people, what we call palta, it's called aguacate, and it's called avocado, and which is which, I don't know, you know. but it's the same thing, you know. And some expressions that we use um, are totally different in other cultures. Okay, and like I said, I'm going to use Spanish because it's what most of us relate. Um, the word, if we say, for example, in Peru in Spanish we say ahorita, that means right now, but in the Caribbean cultures, ahorita means later, and the opposite with ahora. Ahora means now. Okay, so notice how the same language can have different interpretations depending on the culture. Next, let's see. Exactly what expressions mean, respect. Exactly. And that we need to know. We need to know because we don't want to offend anybody without knowing it. Okay. So the next, being conscious and disregarding potential biases. What is a bias? Is when I am influenced by my prior knowledge or by I am not objective. I am it's being more subjective. Okay, because I my interpretation is being affected by my experience, my background. Okay, um, I don't. If I'm biased, I am normally not true to the facts. Okay, a good example was the newspapers in the past in the 90s that were biased towards the government. Everything they said was in favor of the government because they were well economically awarded or something, but they were biased. Okay, their information was not honest because it was influenced by something else. And this regarding potential biases that may be formed based on prior experiences. It is being aware that individuals possess unique ways of perceiving the world around them based on their cultural background and acknowledging those beliefs to benefit all individuals inclusively. Okay. We need to know that sometimes we might disagree with what other people believe, but not because they're wrong, but that's because I am biased by my knowledge, by my experience, by what people have taught me. Okay, so sometimes I need to break away from those biases. I need to separate myself from the biases and try to be a little bit more open-minded. Next, a term used to indicate consciousness of different cultural values, beliefs, and behaviors, as well as the cultural expectations of others. Again, all these concepts are the different interpretations of cultural awareness, but notice how they all relate. Okay, and here we have it says that it's a term used to indicate consciousness of different cultural values. So I know that you think different than me. I know it. I know this happens. So I am aware of it, and also the cultural expectations of others, and I also know what you expect from me. Okay, so cultural awareness has to do. It's a two-way street. I understand you, and I hope you understand me. Okay, whatever I think is it doesn't mean that I am bad or wrong just because you think the opposite, and vice versa. And finally, awareness of the fact that cultures conditions the way people see the world and behave, and of the fact that different cultures do so in different ways. Okay, definitely, most definitely, the culture of a country is going to model the way people interpret things or the way people interact with other people. Latin Americans are very. I remember many years ago when I went back to the United States after after some years, and I went back to look up my best friend from elementary school, and we were already adults, and he is of Italian descent, and we met, and he took me to meet his fiance, and here now because of COVID, everything is with the fist or with the elbow. But normally in Lima, when we meet somebody, especially when a man meets a woman, we greet them with a kiss and a kiss on the cheek, right? A kiss on the cheek. So I had forgotten completely about this fact, and when he introduced me to her, I immediately went and went to give her a kiss on the cheek. I noticed immediately her surprise, but she was courteous enough to put her cheek and just kiss me back. But then when we started talking and we started to get each other and know each other better, and of course once we became friends because again she was the fiance of my best friend. She told me, Carlos, you know, that day that we met, I was totally surprised by how the way you greeted me, because that's not the way we greet each other here in the US. And that's true. And that's true. So I had forgotten completely about the cultural facts that separated this type of greeting. Okay, it's not common. It's not that, okay, because I do it, or because I do it in my culture, I should suppose that other people should do the same. Okay. Um, but yes, I mean, it can be personal. But for example, if you're in Europe, they give two kisses. I mean, so it's even more than us. But I'm just saying that I had forgotten, and I treated her the way I treated people in Peru, and I should have not. I should have asked, or I should have at least let her know, right? So this is one thing that we need to be aware. We need to understand other people's cultures before we speak. So this is the definition of cultural awareness, right? We need to understand who we're talking to and how their culture affects them. Next. Okay, this was one of the first topics that we talked about here in the CAMEX lectures: social English versus business English. Social English has to do more with general English, just common English, whereas business English is more specialized. That's what we called English for specific purposes, or ESP. Okay, each ESP has different vocabulary, different ways of expression depending on who we're talking to. For example, there's ESP for technical issues. There's ESP for medical issues. There's ESP for also for legal issues and for business issues. Okay, enterprises. So let's just quickly define. English, the official language in more than 56 countries in the world, has become mandatory language in various fields for a long time. So people learn this language for communication as a hobby, or as a need for self-development. Okay, so some people learn English because they want to travel. Some people learn English because they want to be able to watch a movie and understand. But some people learn English because they are forced to, because their job demands it. Okay, so the necessities are different. Visiting different countries, understanding foreign movies and entertainment sector easier, or the interest in British culture may be among your reasons to learn the English language. Others, on the other hand, English is important and essential not only for self-development, but also for a more advanced career. So sometimes if you want to progress in your career, if you want to improve your position, or excel in whatever you do, you need English. But other people just need it because they, like I said, they want to understand the movies, or they want to be able to travel, go to Disney World, or visit, visit London, or just to travel. So their needs are different. So the way we're going to use the language is different, and some expressions might change depending on that. Now, what is social English, like we said before? Or we can define social English as the language that people use in their daily lives. I mean, how you talk to your mother, your father, your friends. So this concept signifies the common language formed with common daily expressions. Again, both of them are English, but the expressions vary, right? While 90% of the daily English language that can be spoken and understood may also by almost everyone, due to the less frequent use of technical terms, cover sincere and simple language, it may sometimes have words that are not used in written or official language. This is true. For example, in English, most of you will recognize when I say gonna. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna visit my father, I'm gonna travel. But when you write, you do not write gonna, you write I am going to. Or when I say wanna, right? I wanna travel, I wanna eat, I wanna see, I wanna speak. It's normal to say it, but when you write, you need to write you want to. Okay, so that is one difference also between social English and business English. Normally in business English, you're not going to have many of these expressions. Okay, you avoid them because it's formal, or because it's not done in written English, and things like this. Okay, but for example, I'm pretty sure that even a native speaker, if he starts talking with a doctor or a lawyer, he's going to ask them once or twice what some words mean, because The doctors and the lawyers are going to be using expressions that are typical or specific for the legal area or the medical area. And not everybody who speaks English will understand. That happens also in Spanish. I mean, for example, if you're just somebody who maybe studies something accounting, okay, and you're very knowledgeable of accounting terms, but you meet up with, let's say, an engineer, an industrial engineer, or a civil engineer, and they start to use their technical expressions. I'm pretty sure that more than once you're going to say, "I don't understand what you're saying," okay, and it's the same language. So, and the same happens in English. Okay, so that is one difference, basically the vocabulary and the way we express ourselves or talk. And the last concept that we're going to define is what is business English. Business English is the use of language mainly designed and shaped for occupations such as international trade, domestic trade, and finance. This concept of business English is regarded as an expert level in training and teaching English, business English, which represents a language used with a sector-based terminology and sentence patterns, are supported with abbreviations accepted in the business world, like for example, CEO, CFO, MBA, etc. Also, this language form is used in business-oriented correspondence, such as official correspondence, presentations, business reports, and meetings and meeting texts. Okay, so like I said, basically it's the same as I mean, even though it's the same language as social English, the main difference is basically terminology and patterns. Okay, and words that are used or expressions that are used. Okay, so that's why I believe that the best way to improve business English is by reading, because you acquire the words that you need. Okay, if you have ever registered or attended a business English class, you are going to hear some grammar maybe, but very slightly. You're going to hear some vocabulary. You're going to hear some let's say rules of the language for very slightly. Basically, you're just going to learn the language and how to use it, how to apply it to your area of expertise. For example, in social English, you're going to hear expressions like, "What are you doing here? Can you tell me your name? Are you a student? Are you married? Where do you work? What is your aim in life? Can I borrow your jacket? What is your favorite color?" But in business English, we're going to hear expressions like, "Your project is behind schedule. We have set a deadline for this project. It is time to form a team of staff who can do this job well. We need to start this from scratch. I am delighted to be in this company. Let us meet up at our office today." Okay, notice that both of them are English, but in one it's more colloquial, more day-to-day, more fresh, and the other is just, I mean, direct things related to business. Okay, so notice the difference in the structure in the business, and how and the difference between and the topics or the way they are created or directed. Okay. Very good. So now I'm going to show you some cultural differences in the language. For example, some languages are very outgoing and informal, right? They share feelings easily with a wide circle of acquaintances, like Latin Americans. We're normally like this. Some cultures are more private and more reserved. They share feelings with care and loyalty with close friends and family. This, again, we'll go back to the Asian cultures. Okay, they're more private, more reserved. Some cultures live to work, and some cultures work to live. What does this mean? That if you live to work, your status comes to your professional achievement. Okay? I mean, how you live, it depends on who you are. And you work to live. You living full, rounded, stress-free lives, and it's more important than just having money. Okay? For you, the other part of life is more important, more relevant. So some people, again, Asian cultures. Okay, Asian cultures are responsible. Although there might be exceptions, but normally this is the typical or the most common way. They're very responsible with work. They're very sometimes it might be even called workaholics, and whereas Latin Americans, again, we have time to, I mean, to hang out with friends on a Tuesday evening. We go out and we have some drinks and we relax, or we go with the family. It's the opposite. Now, another difference could be the order. Some are very ordered and some are very flexible. If you're ordered, the rules are the rules. Society suffers if you break them. And flexible, sometimes we can ignore the rules. Then we have the hierarchical and democratic. We need to be told what is going to be done. Okay, we respect a lot the hierarchy that there is, and not necessarily kings and queens, but if you are my boss and if you are my supervisor, okay, so I respect this chain of command. And democratic is when everybody is the same, okay. And then the formality in the way we use names, okay. For example, in using Mr., Doctor, Professor when we speak to someone, or informal when we just say immediately first names. Again, in Peru, normally we say we say tutear, right? We say directly the names, but sometimes we say usted. Okay, that's a way of that's a way of formality, but it depends on every culture what we do. Okay. Next is the expressive body language, and sometimes the restrained body language. Okay, some people are very expressive, the way they move their arms, the way they behave, and some people are just, or some cultures are just you barely move, you're like a robot, you just stand there, right? Or maybe your muscles in your face move, but you don't move too much. Then we have people who need large personal space. Okay, when I talk to you, I want you to be far away. You don't need to be so close. Well, with or without COVID, stay away. And other people like to be really in your face. Some people like, or subconscious really like to be close, talking to you. Again, we Latin Americans are the ones who like to always be very close, or almost in front of people to speak. Okay, it's normal. It's part of our culture. We get familiar. Yes, exactly. And then we have self-determination and fatalistic. Okay, when you're self-determined, we make free choices and control of our lives. We know what we're going to do, and we decide what we're going to do. And then we have fatalistics, our life determined by I have no control over my life. Okay, so some people are like this. They say, no, whatever. Sometimes I am too religious that whatever my religion is, that's what's going to decide my life. Some people are totally the opposite. Okay, they say, okay, no, I decide what to do, and this affects the way we speak. This affects the way we integrate with other people. Okay, so it's important to take into account. Okay, another example here that I'm going to mention on all the differences in culture are, for example, personal fulfillment. Okay, individual initiative and achievements are valued. Okay, and whereas others, they prefer the opposite, group fulfillment. Okay, group harmony is valued. Okay, who needs initiatives when duties are fixed by tradition leaders or team needs? Okay, so some people believe in the greater good. What is, how people call it? Some people call it. For me, it's important that everybody succeeds, not only me. And other people think the opposite. Okay, some cultures are like this. For example, most of the social governments, they think it's everybody, and not the individual doesn't exist. Okay, then merit and standing. Okay, merit is respect is given to those who have earned it, and standing is respect is given to those with the right age, social class, or rank. So one is, okay, I respect you because of everything you have achieved, and I respect you because maybe you have done nothing in your life but have a title, and I respect you for that. Okay, so it depends. That also sometimes can affect. That is also sometimes a cultural difference. The relationship. If we can get along well, we can do a good job. If we can do a good job together, we might get closer as people. Okay, so some people believe in relationships, and by this I mean the how you interact with other people. For me, this is important. Okay, um, if we're friends, then we can do it. If we're not friends, then we're gonna have problems. But in the other side, it's the opposite. Okay, we need to be friends because we have to do this. Okay, we need to get along because we need to accomplish this task. Then welcoming risks and avoiding risks. Okay, some cultures are very open to, hey, let's do it, come on, whatever, YOLO. Okay, and other cultures are like more introverted, like I'll think about it. I don't know. um I've had friends that are like this. For example, I have friends from Brazil that they don't, they just go and do it. They don't care. They just try it. Whereas in Peru, there are some, it also happens, but I would say that, well, now the young generation is a little bit different, but in the past, the majority were like, let me think about it. Let me see, okay, what are the risks? Okay, so that also influences the culture. Innovative and traditional, again, new is exciting. Traditional, if it's broken, why fix it? If it isn't broken, why fix it? Okay. Some people just no, they if this is working fine, why change? Whereas others, they okay, what can I do to make this better? Okay. So that's also a cultural difference. Some cultures are fine the way they are and they do not want to move. It's worked for hundreds of years, why change it? Whereas others, they can't stand being the same way for a specific amount of time. And every now and then they're like, okay, let's change it up, let's be different, let's see what we can do. Open disagreement and disagreement. Okay, when it's open disagreement, the competition between ideas is necessary to make the best decision. Okay, everybody, give me your opinions. Let's see what we can do. Where others, no one must lose face by being proved wrong in public. Okay, so we don't want to be embarrassed if somebody says, I don't agree with you. Okay, so basically you don't express your ideas because you are afraid of being told that you're wrong. Okay, whereas in others, no. I mean, if I'm right or wrong, I don't care. I just want to tell you my opinion. Multitasking versus linear tasking. Multitasking, as we know, people will handle several things at the same time. Nowadays, this is normal in every work. I mean, you should be able to do many things at once. Whereas linear tasking, people do one thing properly and then they move on. Okay. They say that this has this as time progresses and due to the advance in technology, um, people have been becoming more multitaskers than in the past. And there's also the gender value where they say that women can multitask better than men because they are genetically prepared for that. But in the past, it was not like this. In the past, people were more linear. I do this. When I finish this, I'll do the next thing. When I finish the next thing, I'll do the other thing. Now we try to do two or three things. Like, for example, right now, I'm talking to you. I'm checking out my cell phone, and I am trying to do more than one thing at once. Okay. Now, next, lunch is a snack. Lunch is a pleasure. This is totally true for now. Okay. Nowadays, sometimes when we have lunch, we eat like in 5 minutes because we need to go back and continue working. Whereas other cultures, they say, no, wait. Lunch is religious. I mean, I need to spend my 1 hour and a half or my 2 hours having lunch. And then I have the siesta after that. Okay, so your culture will depend on that. Peruvians used to be like this. I remember that back in the day. That's why until now we have 1 hour of lunch. But back in the day, people used to have their lunch and they sit and relax and conversate. And now we have been adopted every more often the American way, like fast food, right? Okay, it's lunchtime. Let's go get some Mickey D's, some McDonald's. Eat some nuggets, a soda, and let's continue working. Or let's buy a pizza and then let's continue working. Okay, because lunch is not considered a pleasure; it's considered a snack. And finally, pride in your country and foreign is the best. Some people, for example, that's something that I think we Peruvians lack. Sometimes we think that if it's made in another place, it's better. A country that I consider very nationalistic is the Mexicans. I mean, if you have a Mexican team of jacks, people are going to be there and singing, and the teams are going to be rooting for it. I mean, if you have a Mexican team of Yankenpo, then they're going to be there rooting for them, because they, Mexico, whatever. And it's very nice to see this, and that's why it felt so good when we went to the World Cup, and people admire how we sang when the Peruvian team came out. And although we know we are like this, it is not too common to see it in an international venue. Okay, so but yes, some cultures are like this. Some countries, they made in my country is the best. Everything else is wrong. So we need to think about this situation when we prepare or when we talk with somebody. Okay, and now I'm just going to give you some templates, okay? For example, when you say hello, to make introductions, we have formal. Allow me to introduce the name, Juan, Pilar. An informal way, Pedro, this is Juan. Okay, so we have the formal way and the informal way. Again, just use it, you can use these as templates. Then we have visitors. Hello, it's Victor, isn't it? Okay, or hello, it's Pedro, isn't it? Okay, so when we want to verify who we're talking to, it's very nice to meet you, Pedro, Juan, Teresa. You say the name. Okay, do you have a seat? If you want to ask somebody to take a seat. Did you find this okay? If somebody came to your office and maybe you think that it was difficult to locate you, how was your flight? Is this your first place in Lima? Is this your first place in Cusco or in Piura, wherever you're at? Okay, so you can use these templates to talk to visitors. And these are, when it says ritual, means that these are like, I mean, always in all conversations, this will happen. This is like traditional conversation, right? How are you? Fine, thank you. And you? More formal, nice, pleased to meet you. Nice, pleased to meet you too. Okay. Again, when I say ritual, I mean that they are done always. I mean, this is a typical presentation when you talk to somebody. And now you have real questions like, how's it going? How's life? How, I mean, what do you do? Where do you live? You know, real questions. Now more in-depth questions, but they totally depend on what you need to know or who you're talking to. Okay. Showing interest. Reacting to good news. If somebody says something good, you must be delighted. Wow, that's fantastic. Okay. You're reacting to good news. But you can also react to bad news. How awful. What a nightmare. What a party. Poor you. Okay, so these are expressions that we can use when we want to react to bad news. Next, reacting with surprise. You're joking. You're kidding. That's strange. Really? Okay. You're joking and you're kidding are very similar. Your joking will be more used for people who have learned British English, whereas your kidding is the American version, but they mean the same. Okay. But you're reacting with surprise. Next, it might sound funny, but these expressions are used for if somebody's talking to me and I say then I am telling him or her that I am listening to her, to whatever they're saying, or So these expressions, again, they might sound funny, but they are common. Because they tell the other people that you're listening to them. And then you have the, oh, right. It's like in Spanish when we say, yeah, okay, the same. And then really? Okay, so we are actively listening. We are reacting, in live to whatever they're saying, in synchronicity to whatever they're saying. And then add a follow-up question, okay? So what happened next? Why was that then? How come? Why? How? How did that happen? What for? Why? Okay. So when we ask these questions, we want more information about the topic that somebody is referring to. Okay. So again, these are templates of expressions that you can use to show interest, reacting to bad news, good news, to surprise, to show that you're actively listening, and to add or generate follow-up questions. Then we have expressions that we can use or that happen when problems may occur. For example, preparing for difficult news. Have you got a moment? If somebody tells you, have you got a moment? Normally, they're not going to tell you something. I mean, they're going to tell you something difficult, okay? I have an apology to make. There's something I've been meaning to tell you. Okay, so they even sound sad. Okay, so when somebody tells you these expressions, immediately you should prepare yourself for bad news. Well, most of the time. Okay, if somebody tells me there's something I've been meaning to tell you, oh no, they're going to break up with me, or they're going to tell me that they've cheated on me, or they're going to tell me that they crashed the car, Something bad's going to follow, definitely. I mean, um, or sometimes they might tell you something that they're afraid that that I think that you're going to react bad. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But that's the interpretation of the person who's speaking. Okay. Um, you think something bad is going to happen if you say it. Okay. Next, for actions. Okay, just bear with me for a second. Okay, I'll see what I can do. This is how you react. Okay, don't worry, I'll deal with it. I will do my best to sort it out. Okay, so with these expressions, you're telling, okay, somebody told you a problem. Okay, I have this problem with this person or area. I'll see what I can do. I'll fix it. Don't worry, I'll deal with it. Okay, don't worry, relax. I'm on duty. I'll fix it. I'll deal with it. And I'll do my best to sort it out. Sort out is to solve it. Okay, so we can use these expressions to tell somebody that you're going to work on it. You're going to try to solve the problem. Okay. Next, big request, when you're going to ask for something important, really big. I was wondering if you could, okay, so, okay, this person is going to ask me for money. This person is going to ask me for permission. This person is going to ask me for something important. Is there any chance you could, would you mind? And then you can say, no, not at all, or yes, I do. Okay, but it depends. So whenever you say these expressions, you are preparing the listener for something important. I mean, nothing minor is said after I was wondering if you could. Okay, you're being too polite for, instead of saying I want or can I. Can I is more direct. And then apologies and replies. Okay, I do apologize. I did not mean to. Okay, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that. That's quite all right. That's our response, right? That's quite all right. That's okay. Don't worry. It happens all the time. Okay, so these are ways of expressing your that you are accepting the apology. Okay, so these are expressions that can be used. Like I said, these are templates that you can use with your when you talk to people. You know, this is what we said before, what we call social English. You know, interacting with people, um, uh, conversating with people. We have mentioned before about our presentations and the way we can make it more persuasive, the way we can, how we can catch people's attention. But all of this cannot be done if we do not prepare ourselves to who we're talking to, not only in what they want and what is beneficial for them, as I mentioned before, but also what represents them. Okay, what represents them. In Peru, we have things like this. For example, there are words that can never be said and that people might think are offensive and are generally accepted as offensive. They say that there are certain topics that you should never bring up in any type of conversation, which is, for one, is politics. You should never talk about politics, especially in a group, maybe with one person or two, but never in a group discussion, because you don't know the political affiliations of the person who's listening to you. How important is politics in their culture? Okay, for example, in the US, if you start saying that we should open the borders, then the Republicans are going to be, what, is this man crazy? Because they're very conservative, or vice versa. Let's build walls. Democrats are going to be, what? You know, because politics is very strong, is strongly rooted in their culture. Okay, and that's for politics. Then you should never talk about religion. Okay, not because religion is a bad thing, but you don't know what is the cultural aspect of that country respecting or respects to religion. Maybe your religious beliefs are different than theirs. Maybe your an expression that you use is okay for the people of your same religion, but it's not okay for the people of other religions. For example, just to make a difference, right? Between Catholics and let's say Muslims. Sometimes many people make fun of the Catholic religion, and we Catholics sometimes say, okay, we're not happy with it, but I mean, we disagree, we might get angry, but okay. But for example, Islam, if you make fun of the religion, they get really angry. I mean, it's not, no, wait, take it easy, take it down a notch, you know, because the religion is very respectful to this, okay, and they sometimes react, and because they don't want, they can feel very, very offended, and not because they're crazy or because no, because that's the way, that's their culture, that's the way they do things, and it's okay and it's correct. It's not incorrect. Okay, so we need to take into account that politics, religion, then also sports. You should never talk about sports because you don't know the affiliation of other people. Okay, so so these three things you should never talk about. For example, politics, religion, and sports. Well, and then sexuality also, because some people are more moderate, more conservative. So that's a fourth thing you should avoid sometimes in a conversation. But all these things need to do with cultural awareness. How are these things managed in the culture that I'm speaking to, or the customs of the people who I'm speaking to? Okay, so it's important. This with this we close a circle about presentations, because it's really, really important to know your public, know your audience, know who you're speaking to. Okay, because in this way you can avoid problems, you can avoid conflicts, you can avoid maybe having issues with people or whoever is listening to you. Okay, so if you have any questions, like I said before, you can ask them via Facebook, and I will try to answer them as quick as possible, and or Zoom. Okay, as always, I appreciate your patience with these topics. And if and then the last topic that we're going to talk about, and that's is leaving. Okay, it's connected to what's going to happen when we finish. Okay, when we prepare to go, is that the time? I ought to make a move. Oh, so soon? You do not have to rush off just yet, do you? Okay, so when I say these things, I am telling people, okay, I'm leaving soon. I am about to leave. Of course, you don't leave immediately, but you're preparing to leave. Okay. Next, when you're leaving, well, I better be off now. Well, I just really must be going now. It's been really nice meeting you. Okay, so with these expressions, I'm saying, okay, it's over. I'm going. Okay, opposite then, oh, is it the time? This is typical, right? Oh, well, look, it's at the time. I gotta go. Next, thanking. Thank you so much for whatever you want to thank. I really appreciate it. It was really kind of you. Okay, so here you're saying thanks. It's always important to say thanks. And I think that's a custom in every culture, okay? And not thanking somebody for their attention or for their treatment is just a sign of disrespect here and in any country. And finally, saying goodbye. Have a safe trip. Say hello to Juan, Pedro, Teresa for me. Give my regards, which is the same as saying hello. Give my regards to Pedro, Pilar. Best of luck for, and keep in touch. Okay, so these are again templates that you can use for your conversations when you interact with other people. And with that, we're done. If I appreciate as always your attention. The next topic for Wednesday is going to be style. We want to make we want to focus on clarity and emphasis. Okay, we want to make sure that everybody understands and to how to pinpoint or how to focus on certain information that we want to give more emphasis or more strength. Okay. Um, Thank you for your time. Here is my information. Okay, if you want to contact me via email, via WhatsApp, or via my LinkedIn account to talk about topics related to this lecture or to any topic that you would like to talk about, I'll be glad to help and answer any if or any all of if any question that you might have. Okay, so let's see. No, thank you. Thank you for following. Thank you, Miss. Okay, so thanks again. I hope you have a great Monday. Please stay safe. Don't go out if it's not necessary. And if you do, please take all the necessary precautions to avoid getting sick or getting your loved ones sick. Remember that COVID is still not over. We are sort of controlling it a little bit, but we cannot lose. We cannot be irresponsible, right? We need to. The only way to make it disappear is to controlling it. So have a great Monday. Have a great beginning of the week, and I will see you on Wednesday. Take care.